several coming. Welcome to the Double Dribble podcast with Dubin and Dakhil. That's Jared Dubin, author of Last Night in Basketball. Just so you know, he just dropped the news. I didn't read it yet. I didn't cheat like I normally do on these podcasts. I am a subscriber. Make sure you're a subscriber, but he just dropped The Arrival. I'm pretty sure I know who we're talking about in that instance on the newsletter. That hit my inbox. That should have hit your inbox. And if it didn't, it's because you're not a subscriber and you need to go subscribe to his newsletter right freaking. I don't normally do this. Pause the podcast. Pause it. Go subscribe. Come back to the podcast. Hit play. Okay, I'll wait for a second. Okay, welcome back. Thank you for subscribing to Jared's new newsletter. I hope we, not new newsletter, but newsletter. I'm Mo Dakhil, former video coordinator with the Clippers, Spurs, Team Australia. I will be writing again for Bleacher Report, so there'll be something coming pretty soon for Bleacher Report. I have videos coming up on Offside. I will be doing pre-game shows for the first 4 games of the NBA Finals on X Live with Alexis Morgan, Zach Harper, myself. We're going to have X's and Mo's. We're going to have a lot of fun, breakdowns, all that stuff. We're going to get you ready for the finals, for every finals game, because we finally know our matchup. And I don't want to waste any more time with fluff. The San Antonio Spurs go into Oklahoma City, Game 7, and beat the defending champs. Jared, I just your initial thoughts. Like, just when you hear that, when you the end of the game, like, what were just your initial thoughts?
Just a wildly impressive performance, not just in Game 7, but throughout the entire series from the Spurs. I mean, to knock out the defending champs in their own building, obviously a shorthanded version of the champs, but the version that we saw throughout the series, still an incredibly high-level team. To go on the road and do that in a game that I feel like we've talked about a bunch of these games throughout the entire year, and especially throughout this series, that felt like the Thunder were sort of swimming upstream the entire game, and the Spurs just kept knocking them back. They did it so many different times. They made a run every time it seemed like the Thunder were coming for their lead. Just could not be more impressed with that team.
Yeah, and I mean, like, to really just kind of sort of put it together, they came back down 3-2 in the series.
And 2-1.
Right? Down 2-1 and down 3-2 in the series. They looked pretty bad in Game 5. A lot of people were like, hey, it's over. The Thunder have it figured out. They're going to beat them in Game 6. And they beat the brakes off of them in Game 6. And then they come into this environment and atmosphere where it was like, and we're going to talk about the whole game, but just they were ready to go from jump. It was a totally different vibe from this team versus what they were in Game 5, like the whole way. And there was just so many things that were impressive across the board in performances. The other thing that really kind of stood out to me, and we've seen him do this before, but Wemby's just pure emotion.
Yeah.
Was kind of cool to see. Like, you know, I saw somebody posting this on one of the socials, and they're right. It is really cool to see somebody care this much in an era where everybody's just like too cool and doesn't want to show anything. Like, it is kind of refreshing to see it. Like, we saw it when they came back and beat the Clippers in the regular season and he cried. Like, but like, it's cool to kind of watch the expression of emotion. And then my other note, the conference finals MVP trophy looked like a Coke can in his hands. Like, it was just like he just rolling. It was pretty funny to me. But let's kind of just go to the game. Where do you want to start with the game?
I guess we got to start with Wemby, right? I mean, the guy changes the entire game defensively, Nobody but Shea, until Cason Wallace was making threes down the stretch of the game, nobody but Shea was able to do anything. And even Shea was subsisting on a diet of really tough contested mid-rangers because he couldn't get all the way to the rim. I mean, that was the story of the series, that and the Spurs being able to score efficiently over the second half of the series, I think. Just they shut the Thunder's water off offensively throughout the series. And in this game, too, they only scored, I think, 112 points per 100 possessions. 113 points per 100 possessions was like a bottom 6 mark in the league. And that was despite Shea having the game that he did. And Obviously, a lot of that is due to Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper and Julian Champagny and Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson and De'Aaron Fox. But the reason those guys are able to defend the way they do is because they have that big guy behind them. And he just changes the entire dynamic of the court. And he changed the entire dynamic of the court in game 7.
And he chases every block. Like, and I don't mean that in a negative way. There are guys we talk about it in a negative way. Like, oh, he tries to block everything. But like Wemby, like when he's closing out to you on 3, it's making you shoot a little higher. When Hartenstein's shooting his little push shot floater, which we all loved, for years, especially when he was a Knick, it has to be even higher above it. And he's had some and it makes it really pretty when it falls. When
Did you see the stats, by the way? I can't remember who had them, but it was like when he shot the floater, there was like a 48-degree or 58-degree vertical arc. And when he shot it contested by Wemby, it was like a 68-degree vertical. I can't remember who had the stats, but it was like 10 degrees higher of arc when contested by Wemby versus normal.
I believe it because I just feel like there's no way you can really sort of justify like if you do it any lower, he's sending it, or even worse, just catching it. But like, I think just his gravity defensively is so insane that I think it kind of like opens up the world, for them. And you're right. It allows the guards to be more aggressive and be more, physical, and knowing that like, hey, if we get beat, I got the human eraser behind me. Like we're going to be fine for the most part. And I think that's the stuff that was really interesting. The other thing to me that kind of stood out in this game, and I mean in Wemby's game in particular, he didn't get in the paint a whole bunch. Like it didn't feel like just a dynamic offensive game. He had some big shots. He hit some, step backs, everything that he does, that Wemby does, but I didn't feel like this was like an offensive dominant performance from Wemby. Am I off base here a little bit?
No, it wasn't particularly dominant. Like he only took 15 shots, but he made a couple of big threes, including a step back on the wing. He had 2 dunks that were just completely ridiculous. One of them where he catches the ball, doesn't bring it down, and just absolutely yams on Chet Holmgren, who we're going to talk about quite a little bit later. But he had that one where it was like, took Chet's soul from his body. And then he had another one where he was like outside the lane and like barely jumped and just sort of reached through the middle of the lane. It was like he dunked it from like 12 feet away somehow without moving.
It was, it was crazy.
It was the banker to start the game over Hartenstein. Like that set the tone right away.
The dunk you're talking about where he stretched out, that was the Space Jam dunk.
Yeah.
He had like 3 Thunder players on him and he just stretched out and that to me was the Michael Jordan Space Jam dunk where I was like, oh, I remember. that was a vivid memory. But I think the other thing for me from the Spurs that was really impressive throughout the whole series, to be honest, they were able to play fast. Once they figured out their turnover situation, and they really cut down.
Came back, and it didn't have to be Castle creating everything by himself.
Yeah, they were able to play faster. They got out in transition. They got early offense looks. They got early, like even if they didn't get anything out of the early offense, they were able to force the defense to have to rotate, scramble. When you play faster, you're creating cross matches. Like I felt like they just did a great job in terms of controlling their pace and not slowing down as much. And I think that was a huge part of it for me in just the whole series, and in particular in game 7, because like early on, they were getting transition. You had the Dylan Harper, I think it was, or Castle cross-court pass to Wemby for one of his threes in early offense. You had
that was
Harper, excuse me. You've had like runouts for buckets and things like that. They executed in the second half. I posted it and I texted you a proper 3-on-2 fast break where the ball never touched the ground after half court. Like I was blown away. Like we're getting proper fast breaks execution. Like there was a lot of stuff that I feel like with the Spurs that this sort of just allowed everybody to kind of play in this game and feel more comfortable. And it really kind of took the Thunder sort of out of their rhythm and their flow.
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would love to know the split for both this game and the series of like first 8 seconds of the shot clock, middle 8 seconds of the shot clock, and final 8 seconds of the shot clock, because it felt like the Thunder were always working up against the end of the clock throughout the entire series, and it did not feel that way for the Spurs at all.
Yeah. Excuse me. The Thunder had to work so much harder for their offense in this series. And again, that's part of the Wemby problem with what you have. And I think the challenge too, and then of course, and we got it's huge. No J-Dub, no AJ Mitchell. Like they've run out of creators.
Yeah.
So again, they do have it's even harder to run offense in that point now. And now you're even in a more difficult situation. You know, Shea had to play 44 minutes in this game, and we're going to talk Thunder in a second. I just want to stay with the Spurs for a bit. But like the Spurs offense, besides the few games where we felt like the Hartenstein did a good job on Wemby, game 2 and game 3 in particular, like I think they really kind of put it on Wemby to a degree. I kind of just felt like the Spurs were more attuned to their offense. Game 6 to me was more, hey, we just made all our shots. But this game 7, I felt like they had a better flow of offense.
Yeah, I mean, they had a 122 offensive rating in game 7. They topped 120 in game 6 and game 7. Like, you do that against the best defense in the league, one of the best defenses in years, even a compromised version of it without J-Dub. And I guess a compromised version of it because they couldn't play Lou Dort, which we'll talk about also. So you have Jared McCain out there as a guy who you can attack a little bit more. And I did think he got attacked in this game, and they were -8 in his 23 minutes, which was big. But you do that against this defense, and it's just wildly impressive. And I do think that, like you said, a lot of it was them being able to play fast. The guards getting down. Like De'Aaron Fox in this game looked so much faster than he did at any previous point in the series. You know, quote unquote, only had 15 points and 5 assists, but I thought he was really, really good. Getting downhill, he made a nice step back 3 at one point. That was a pretty big shot. He had 3 steals, got them out in transition a few different times. Like, he played a really good game for them.
He had one where I was like, okay, Fox is back. First off, like he hit a lot of shots that were like pivotal moments. Like they need this bucket at this point.
A little turnaround in the middle of the lane. Is that the one you're talking about?
When he crossed up, God, I forget who was guarding him, but he comes off the ball screen in the second half. He crosses up and then hits a floater in the lane. And it's like he hit that, and I was just like, fuck. Like he's coming up with big shot after big shot for them. And in the moments where it's like the Thunder are creeping, they're chipping away at the lead. It's a 6-point lead, it's a 4-point lead, and then he comes in, and everybody's, for lack of a better term, butthole's pretty tight. He comes in and makes a play and hits the shot, and then it's like, and everybody relaxes for like unclenches for a second, right? And it's everybody's kind of relaxed for a moment. Like he did that. I don't know how many of his 15 points were that, but I'm willing to wager it was 12 of them. At least the way I felt. And that's an unscientific guess. Don't anybody try to like fact check me. But like he was huge in those moments. And then on top of it too, I thought his defense on SGA was really good. Like I know they didn't really target him that much, but part of it was because defensively I thought he was really solid.
There were a couple times where SGA got him on a switch and just didn't go right at him, and I was pretty disappointed in that. Like SGA was phenomenal throughout the entire game, but I did think he had a couple of missed opportunities to go at Fox when he drew him on a switch.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot of that stuff. And again, I want to talk all Spurs for a segment. We're going to talk all Thunder next segment because then we could talk Eulogy and all that stuff. So let's just because I think the ability of Fox, like him coming back, you said it earlier too, just cut down on the turnovers. Like everybody's so quick to like Spurs already should be ready to trade Fox with Harper in the. I'm like, you don't need to rush this, right? Like Fox is really kind of like Not that he has a ton of a playoff experience, but he's the adult in the room right now for this team.
Right.
And I think that's really important. And we saw that in this series with just his presence on the floor, even if he's not making shots.
He knows how to run an offense. You need that kind of thing out there. Like Dylan Harper is already really good, and he kind of knows how to run an offense too. And by the way, speaking of shots that it seemed like was momentum busters every single time, Dylan Harper had 12 points. I feel like all 12 of them were like, oh my God, that shot was huge.
Well, we'll get to him. Save him. Put him in another box because we're trying. I want to talk about just all the. I mean, first off, there's a ton of dudes to talk about with the Spurs in this game because they all kind of stepped up in one way, shape, or form. But I just think the way they're set is pretty good. I think Fox was awesome. We got to talk Castle. I thought Castle was superb in this game.
Phenomenal, unbelievably good. Shea goes off for 35 and 9 assists, and I thought that this was still one of Castle's better defensive games of the series.
It was a masterpiece. It's the craziest. It's like the thing where when people talk about Iguodala won a Finals MVP because he held LeBron to 30 something, right?
Yeah.
It's because that's how good LeBron was in his defense. But I think it wasn't just that. It was sort of just he didn't shrink from the moment. And this is one of those things where Game 5, this whole team looked inexperienced and young. Game 6 and 7, they didn't. No. They looked ready to go. And I think that's an important sort of thing to note. And I think we're just kind of watching them grow in real time. And I think that's what's scary for the rest of the league. When you're figuring this stuff out, it's shit, man. You wrote it, the arrival. It's not just Wemby. It's all of these guys are arriving at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think it's fascinating. Hit some big shots. He hit after the Cornet game-changing momentum chase down block.
Yep.
He hits the shot afterwards to really to push it back to an 8-point lead. This is the stuff that was phenomenal in all of this. And I think there was just a impressiveness with his poise. Dude had 20 turnovers in 2 games. We know why.
Right.
But that would normally wreck a guy. That would wreck a vet. And he was solid, with it after that.
They crept back up in Game 7. He had 6 of them in Game 7, but he only had 12 combined in the final 5 games of the series. So half of them came in this game.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those things where it was man, these kids have figured it out.
Yeah.
And then
basically the Spurs are here basically because their best guys are better than we thought possible, earlier than we thought possible, and everybody else is right on time. And that's kind of what I wrote about in the newsletter.
Yeah, and that's perfect. And that's the perfect way to kind of put it in that sense. The Thunder make a little run. First off, there were 2 runs. One that blew me away with the Spurs where I was oh, they're going to win this game. Around the 3 or 4 minute mark in the first half, the Thunder start to make a run and actually take a 4-point lead.
Yep.
And then the Spurs score the next 7 and take a 3-point lead into halftime.
Yep.
And that's when I was okay. I thought when the Thunder took that 4-point lead, I said, oh, here we go. They're setting it up. It's going to be a 6-point lead going into half. And then they're going to the Spurs are going to panic and they're going to go off. The Spurs responded so splendidly in those 2 minutes to get that 7-0 run that's when I was just that's usually what the Thunder do. And that for me, going hey, they threw a punch and we threw it right back at them within seconds, said a lot to me.
Absolutely. I thought the exact same thought process that you had. I thought that once the Thunder came back and took that 4-point lead after being down 14 earlier in the game, I was all right, this is it. These guys just did it again, and they're going to flip this game on its head and go into halftime, and they're somehow going to be winning after all this that we saw in the first half. Spurs come right back with that 7-0 run to go up 3 into the break. I was all right, man, we got ourselves a game on our hands. Then the second half, the Thunder take another lead. Mm-hmm. Now we got to talk about this guy. Julian Champagnie hits the run-busting 3 to tie the game. We were talking during Game 5, and I was the Spurs got the Champagnie game, and the Thunder won it anyway. And you said, no, the Champagnie game is when he hits 6 or 7 threes, and he hits 6 threes in this game, and they win the game.
It's just that's the Champagne game, and it's timely. It's not just that they hit it. It's like you said, it's a run busting three, right? Like it's timely threes on top of the amount, and I think that was really what you got from
He had the
Champagne.
one where he tied the game and he like quieted down the crowd.
Yeah, like hey, fuck y'all, because he's in Oklahoma City, and I think that was the thing where it was like, it was God, man. There's so many guys to talk about. Like just Champagne coming in clutch after, again, shooting poorly most of the series.
Yep.
And then finding his shot. That's not
he
something we're used
12 or 24 over the last 3 games of the series from 3.
It's something you're not used to from young guys, right? Like there's a level of like, I hate this phrase, but I'm going to use it anyways. They're built differently. Like, but there's a little sort of like, I don't know what it was. I wish I could have sat in the coaches' meetings or the conversations they had with him in terms of just keeping him pumped up and not visibly shaken of like, we see it with shooters. When they go on a slump, it can be a long ass time before they pull out. And like he credit to him for coming out of it and just in time. So they did get the Champagne game. Perfect timing, game 7, kind of when you need to have it.
We should talk about Devin Vassell too. Broke up another 2-on-1 fast break. Like he didn't shoot well in this game, and he wasn't on the court down the stretch because they were playing Champagne and Harper. But I can't believe he did that again. He broke up like 5 or 6 of those in the series.
Well, one, the Thunder need to figure out how to run a 2-on-1 fast break.
Yeah.
Okay. Like that's where I joke about the fast, like teams don't know how to run a fast break. They are constantly, even on the Hartenstein block, it's actually a 2-on-1. If he makes the right play, it's a bucket for, I think it was McCain running with him. And it's like, I think you have a lot of stuff with what you're doing. I think the ultimate thing with Vassell is like, he brought a lot of, there's going to be cursing this episode. I'm going to apologize. He brought a lot of fuck you energy. And it was visible in game 6. When he blocks Chet, which, by the way, that's 100% everything after that should have been a technical. Shoves Chet afterwards, screams in Chet's face, all of that. And it's like literally just like brings a certain level of just like fuck you-ness. Like he brought a ton, like his defense has been great. Also, Champagne, we should also talk about too, like has improved so much defensively over the season. He's more than just like a 3-point shooter, and we can try to like there's not a lot of guys they can attack. And I think that's the thing that's really interesting with that. And you're right, he didn't shoot it well, didn't have but he brought juice when he was in there. And I think that was the stuff that was like most important for Vassell. We just got the run the Thunder go on to make it a 4-point game, a 6-point game, right? Shea hits a crazy turnaround jumper over Fox. Spurs call a timeout.
That one with like the hand in his like
in
his face.
Yeah, it was an absurd shot from Shea, who was phenomenal in this game. Like I say whatever you want, he didn't have a great series. This was the Shea game they needed, and he delivered. Nobody else did. Coming out of the timeout, the Spurs turn the ball over. Hartenstein gets a steal.
Double dribbles, by the way, like absolutely double dribble.
Of course, but listen, Harper got away with a massive travel in this game.
And there was a play in the first half where Fox, they got the lead down before. Fox steps on the side, like blatantly steps on the sideline, pushes it to 6, and then they push it back to 9 on the next possession with, I think, that Wemby trailer 3 that we were talking about earlier.
Right, and that was a big miss too. But Hartenstein's dribbling down the court. He's thinking he's got a dunk. He's going into dunk. Cornet is chasing right after him. This is after Wemby has picked up his 5th foul. It's about 7-minute mark in the 4th quarter. And we're going to end up talking about this Cornet chase down block changing the momentum of this game. Because everything was looking like, the Thunder are about to go on a run right now. And right when that turnover happened, I was like, shit, the Spurs are going to be in trouble. He makes that massive block, and it was clean. Matter of fact, he took a shot to the face with Hartenstein's forearm, which I'm fine. Don't call it. I'm fine. But like, gets the block, run the other way. run a little bit of offense, and that's where Castle hits that free throw jumper over Caruso. It was only a minute, but for a dude who has been largely negative through the whole series, except from game 6 and game 7, like, what a monster freaking play from him.
Massive. And speaking of guys who were mostly negative the whole series, but then positive in the fourth quarter, Keldon Johnson, who had done nothing for the most part during the series, hits 2 massive threes in the fourth quarter, grabs a couple offensive rebounds too. I thought both of those guys made a significant impact in the fourth quarter of the game when they had not been very good for the significant majority of the series.
Can we also talk offensive rebounds?
11 offensive rebounds in the second half for the Spurs.
No. But before that, first half, they're getting their asses kicked on the boards by the Thunder. The Thunder had 17 second chance points in the first half.
Whew.
They only got 1 offensive rebound the rest of the second half. So they do a phenomenal job gang rebounding. The guards did a good job crashing in, cracking back, especially when Wemby goes to contest. They're doing a good job chasing down rebounds and everything that goes with that. On the other end, like you said, Keldon Johnson, the 2 biggest offensive rebounds, though,
Dylan
Harper's. The crash from the corner, the Thunder screw up a little bit of a rotation. Somebody, I forget who it is, has to leave Harper to shoot up to, I think it was Champagny who shot the 3.
Yeah.
Harper comes crashing in, corner crash, offensive rebound, leads to another Champagny wide open 3. Back to him hitting big shots. And then later from the opposite corner, he was more in the dunker spot. I think Champagny misses Wemby wide open underneath the rim. The Thunder go to box out Wemby because, of course, he's like 12 feet tall. Harper gets it and puts it right back. Doesn't come down with it. 5 points right there off of his offensive rebounds right there. So huge.
Enormous. Like, they wound up with 17 second chance points after having, I think, 4 in the first half, if I'm remembering correctly.
It was one and done mostly in the first half, like, with their shots. Just impressive. Like, when you see how this kind of all sort of played out, and a lot of this stuff, Wemby's gravity led to a lot of this stuff, but also a lot of it was the other guys doing it. Like, when you looked at it the last 6 minutes, it was kind of like, hey, like, Wemby was there and he's the reason for it. Like that, they go to box him out and leave Harper and everything. But, like, those are big moments that these guys all kind of stepped into. I'm really kind of just blown away, impressed, everything that comes with it from the Spurs. I thought Mitch Johnson did a great job. I thought, the all the guys that stepped in kind of all came through with their jobs when they needed to. And at the end of the day, too, this was a great freaking game.
Great game. Great series. I know that games 2 through 6 were not close at the end, but the swings back and forth between the 2 teams and the adjustments that they were making to get themselves back into the series or back into the lead were really impressive. And then obviously we got 2 fantastic start to finish games in game 1 and game 7.
Yeah. And I don't have anything else like beyond the, just how amazing all that is. Do you have anything left you want to shout out? Anything we missed or touch on?
Not from the Spurs side. We got a lot to say, obviously, about the Thunder.
Folks, this is going to be a long show. Just going to let you know now. Okay. So we're going to take a break here. And on the other side, we're going to talk about the other team that lost and talk about their outlook in the offseason, everything. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. And we're back, folks. So the defending champs going home. Kind of a crazy sort of like when you go back to the start of the season, they go 24-1. You and I do a podcast where I'm like, I think they're going to break the 33 game record. I think they're going to the win streak. I think this team's unbelievable. They can't be stopped. They didn't even have J-Dub through most of that stuff. Even Luka's going nuts. And I think you're looking at it all and just kind of saying, like, this is truly like they run into the Spurs And the Spurs, in like within 3 games, were like, they're good, but maybe not quite like that. And I think, the obvious thing to start with is like this series is very different. I don't necessarily mean they win, but it's very different, plays out differently if they have Jalen Williams and AJ Mitchell. If they just have one of those guys, it makes a big difference for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes a much bigger difference if it's J-Dub than Mitchell, obviously. Like, they needed another creator, but I think they also could have used the flexibility to be able to go big or small, depending on how you wanted to use J-Dub as the 4, as the 5, as the 3, as, you can go really big with him and Shea as really the only guards out there. Like, there are so many different things that you can do because of his positional versatility. Whereas Mitchell, it was just like you're putting another creator out there, but he might get erased by Wemby because he tends to be more of an interior creator, despite the fact that he operates on the perimeter. He does want to get downhill and toward the paint. And it did seem like in the first couple of games of the series, Wemby was kind of erasing him. So I don't know how much difference he would have necessarily made, but obviously they did need, like you saw it, especially throughout Game 7, not having anybody other than Shea that could do anything off the dribble just strangled the offense eventually, especially because they didn't have the shooters either. Like that was a glaring thing throughout the series. When they made their threes, they won. When they didn't, they lost. And they just didn't have, they needed another shooter. They needed another creator. They could really use somebody who was both. And they were missing the 2 guys that could qualify for both of those things.
Yeah. And I think that's ultimately what kind of crushes them in the end, right? Like they come in a way the situation, they realize they can't play Hartenstein with other bigs, right? Because that just allows Wemby to chill in the paint. They can't really figure out where to get more creation offensively once those guys go out. Like I told you at one point, I said they need McCain, not so much as shooting, although they did need his shooting, but they need him to be able to be a bit more of a creator, which isn't fair to him. That's not what he does, right? Like you're asking second-year player to basically change who he is at that point. You're not getting that. You're not going to get that from Wallace. You're not going to get that from Caruso. You're struggling with what you're looking at in sort of your game plan. And so I think everything kind of changed after that, with where they're at. And the lack of shooting was just so evident. There's a reason why Shea, quote unquote, didn't have a good series, right? And shot poorly, right? Like the Spurs were able to just say like, hey man, we can just key in on him. They didn't double team him, but he always saw bodies, right? It's a level of like,
well, they double teamed him through the first 3 games of the series. And then
right,
after that, they didn't.
But down after that. And I think it's one of those things. It's almost like Sam Darnold's
seeing
ghosts a little bit. Like every time he was moved, and the biggest dude is waiting for you at the rim. Right. So it's like, apart from the dunk he had in the first half, like he didn't really have much in the paint on Wemby.
Nobody did. They went 5 for 13 in the restricted area in the game. The Spurs made more restricted area shots than the Thunder took in Game 7.
I mean, that's kind of where you're at, and you're looking at it like, damn, man, like this is just too much with what they have. And then they just didn't have the firepower to go with it. But we got to also just start. One, I'm not saying anything about Shea. He showed up. He was awesome tonight.
That was a unbelievable display of shot making throughout the entire game, and all kinds of different shots, turnarounds, fadeaways, step backs. Like
threes.
I don't know what more he could have done in this game.
I mean, apart from like putting the cheese on the nachos in the stands, like there's not much more he really would have been able to kind of put together. I think like you needed other guys to come with him. And again, caveat aside, with the injuries, they didn't get Lou Dort was bad this whole series.
We'll talk about that a little more.
Chet, we're going to get into in just a second, was brutal. Caruso was up and down, right? Like Caruso was, when he was on, he was great. But when he wasn't on, it was not useful.
And in Game 7, he was not good.
He was not good. Wallace stepped up in the second half, hitting some threes and trying to keep the Thunder in it. Just not enough. Hartenstein, not enough. Like there's just so much there's only so much that he could do. He needed the other guys to come with him. And it's, of course, you take two guys off your team, one starter and one off the bench. Like, you're going to be hurting as a team.
Yeah.
With that, for them to force a game 7, pretty impressive just in that own right. Winning that game 5 was impressive in its own right. I just think, like, if you're the Thunder, you just got to be looking, and we just got to go into it. You just got to be looking at Chet going like, dog, 2 shots? That's all you can do? 2 shots? You're that afraid of Wemby? There's a play off of an offensive rebound. I think it was in the first half. It gets to Jalen Williams. Williams kicks it over to Chet, and Chet's thinking he's going to have a matchup here. And it's him one-on-one with Wemby. He takes 1-2 dribbles, gives it right back to Jalen Williams. Wants nothing to do with it.
There were several plays like that. And he was just like record scratching from 3 too. Like, I know he has a slow release, but when you have space, you got to just let the ball go. Like, you got to be willing to put the ball in the air at a certain point. And it was like Ben Simmons out there. He was just not willing to put the ball in the air from anywhere on the court. He didn't want to challenge Wemby. He didn't want to challenge anybody. He didn't want to let it go from 3 when they were leaving him open on the perimeter. There were times where he just like would not even try to get the ball either. He had one of the most half-hearted post-up attempts I've ever seen in the fourth quarter.
Well, but he doesn't have a post game. This is actually something I've said about the Thunder.
But this was not even not having a post game. He like was barely pretending that he wanted the ball in the post.
Well, he didn't want the ball at all in this game. That's really kind of, which is shocking because they went through 2 game 7s last year. But like the thing for me, one with Chet, and this is, I'm going to put some of this on the Thunder development program. Some of it's on them. You created all the players to be the same, including Chet. But he doesn't have any variability in his game. Right? Like, and he doesn't have any other way to change. He's a spot up shooter. He can put it on the ground for a couple dribbles, and that's about it. And try to attack. You need to find another level for his game, another way for him to attack. At 7 feet, he needs to be able to do stuff. Whether, hey, let's have a package where we run some offense through Chet at the elbow. Like, but he doesn't even have that elbow package, right? Like, because he doesn't have that game. They haven't developed that. They haven't fleshed that out. Like, they got this dude, he was the number 2 pick in the draft, and they've really kind of turned him into more of a role player than a guy he should be. And I'm saying this because I used to think he needs to be the Thunder's second best player. With J-Dub out, he needed to be the guy to step up more than anybody else on that team. And he no-showed. And it's not just Wemby snatching his soul. Vassell kicked his ass. He got punked by everybody on the Spurs.
He got punked by Champagne. Like, we talked about it before. It was not just offense. Like, this was not a good defensive series for him either. Champagne drives through his chest multiple times. Guys were challenging him at the rim the entire series. I know he had a great block on Dylan Harper in this game.
If Harper got that one, though, he might have just crumbled into dust.
Yeah. Yeah, but they just did not fear him at the rim throughout the entire series.
And not just that, and they weren't afraid to contest him when he's going for dunks and blocking his dunks and things like that. There's a lot to kind of like, when you look at it from his perspective, from him game-wise, you need to see more, man. Like, it's just one of those things. I think he has it there, but like, this is going to be a long offseason. You had said it before on one of our pods, I think, that, like, he's going to have to really get into the lab, or maybe so. I'm sorry, I do too many things. But he needs to get in the lab in the offseason, and the development program needs to get with him, and like, need to figure out another aspect of your offensive game. Right? Like, I'm not worried about the defense, but you need to figure out another aspect of your offensive game, because right now you're just very one-dimensional.
I think the biggest thing for me, I've said this for multiple years now, the release on the jumper needs to speed up, because you've got to be able to get that shot off. You can't be record scratching when you only have 6 or 7 feet of space. That shot's got to go up, especially against a team like this where you're not going to get better shots than that.
Yeah. I'm Like, this is thoroughly disappointing with that. Also, man, hit the weight room, dude. Like, you don't have to be yoked, but like, this is
He's never going to be like a big guy, but you can be thicker than this and stronger than this in your base, especially. Like, you shouldn't be getting pushed around in the lower body as often as he does. Like,
and to be
he makes it work for him defensively still, like a lot of times where he can get pushed back, but because he has such good timing and verticality, he can still contest at the rim where he'll like be going backwards, but contest with his hands forward like this without fouling you. Somehow he has really good control of that. But offensively, being able to establish position on duck-ins and things like that, not getting pushed off your spot, not getting pushed off on the drive. Like, he doesn't have good enough balance on the drive when he tries to go through the lane. Some of that is the handle is not the tightest in the first place. When he tries to go into, two or more defenders, he gets stripped a lot. But I think a lot of that is on his balance and his base too.
Yeah, and I think, just compare what Wemby looked like when he came in the league to what he is now. Like, he's added some muscle. It's not like he's yoked. When you do it with Chet, there's not a lot, man. Like that, dude, you need to figure out a way to put on some muscle and some weight there. All right, it's not just Chet.
No.
Right? We got to talk about Lou Dort. And honestly, like, this was, I think, always a bad matchup for him. I think it was a bad matchup. I think we've known this since December that, hey, this isn't really the greatest matchup for him. He's too small for Wemby. So it's not like you could put him on a big and hide him there. The guards are too quick for him. He's not really going to be able to hang there. And he's not going to be able to make enough threes at this point where it's really going to be a problem for you. Like, this was just a brutal matchup for him.
Yeah. Once they weren't using him to guard Wemby, which they did occasionally in game one, but really not at all after that, there was really no place for him in the series because there's not like an apex perimeter creator for him to guard, especially with Fox limited. And those guys are kind of too quick for him anyway. He's more about dealing with strength. So there wasn't a spot for him in the series, I didn't think. And then he neutered their offense. The Spurs just did not care about him at all. I texted you early in the game. I can't believe they started him again. Like, they messed around with the starting lineup. He goes -9 in 16 minutes in a game the Thunder lost by 8 points. They didn't lose because of that, but they did get off to a -6 start before he got subbed out in the first few minutes of the game, which it felt like every game in this series, they were swimming upstream, like I talked about earlier, because they kept getting off to these bad starts, in large part because the Dort, Hartenstein, Chet trio just could not play together.
Yeah, it was just brutal for them with that. And that trio was nasty. I mean, I don't anticipate him being back. They have a team option for him. I don't expect them to pick it up. I
kind of do expect them to pick it up, but trade him if they're not going to bring him back. Like, they're too asset conscious to just let him go for nothing.
But it's not that, though. But at a certain point, too, it's like, all right, if they're trading him, they got to take something back. And this team, the extensions kick in next year. For Chet, for Williams, like, this team becomes crazy expensive, which is what they understood when they signed these guys. But that was also because they had to figure out all these other team options. And the idea is, like, we have all these picks. We'll keep bringing in influx of young talent with this stuff. I think it's time. It won't shock me if I don't think they pick up the option. Maybe they have a trade somewhere in the works where they can kind of make something happen and pull another pick out of some other team. But, like, I don't know.
I think it's more package him with, like, Aaron Wiggins and Nikola Topic and a draft pick for something. Go get something good, as opposed to, like, you're getting stuff for Lou Dort, which I don't think you are.
Well, I don't even know if that doesn't interest me as a team. Like, really, unless it depends what the pick is I'm getting. Like, I'm not.
Well, they have 12 and 17 and about 600 other picks.
Yeah, I think they're going to use 12 and 17 to try to move up and consolidate those two into get in the top 10.
They could do that. But I mean, they've got Topic, they've got Sorber, they've got, like, who the hell else?
They got guys to add to these things to sweeten the deals. But, like, I don't know. Like, I just don't think he's back. Maybe they pick up the team option. and they do make a move.
Yeah, I just don't think they let him go for nothing. That just doesn't seem like a Presti thing to do.
Right. Well, there's going to be times where they're going to have to come to decisions because they got to figure out what they're going to do with Wallace. He's going to be extension eligible this summer.
Wallace. You got to,
know. So they're going to have to figure out what they're going to start doing there. But I want to go back to something you said, and this is going to bring us to Dagnall. I don't think he did a great job, particularly in the last 2 games. And you were on it from the beginning, where it was like, needed to bench Dort, needed to start Caruso. He does it in the second half where he benches Hartenstein and Dort, right? And it was Caruso and Jalen Williams with Chet, SGA, and Wallace. But like too late with what you're doing. I think the timeout
it's not like he didn't know either, by the way. Like, every time they get off to a bad start, they bring in Caruso for Dort. Caruso plays 39 minutes in this game. He knew he needed to be on the court the whole time.
Yeah. Unfortunately for OKC fans, he wasn't very good in those 39 minutes. The timeout stuff was hilarious to me. First off, too heavy on the challenges.
There were multiple times in this series where they challenged trying to get a proximate foul and lost.
And it's just like, and so that cost you timeouts. Where then, before the 3-minute mark, you're already out of timeouts.
Right. They were out of timeouts with like 4.5 minutes left.
Right. Like it was something where I was like, you first off, your 2 challenges. I mean, and you won the challenges.
Yeah.
Right. Like you won the challenges, but you lost your timeouts in the process because you don't get those back when you win the challenge. And I think you put yourselves in a brutal situation where, like, if this was a 1-point game at the end, they wouldn't have had a timeout, right? Like, to advance the ball sometimes is the most important thing to me. And I think that was a brutal thing there. I think he's a great coach. I don't think he particularly did a great job in games 6 and 7.
I think he was very limited in his options by the end of the series. Like, we came into the season and the series thinking like the Thunder are the deepest team in the league and one of the deepest teams in years. And it seemed like by the end of the series, he had like 4 guys he could trust. And one of them was not Chet Holmgren. Like, it was like SGA, Caruso, Wallace, and Hartenstein. And who else do you trust out there?
No, I agree with you. But
Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams was good but he also was up and down throughout the series. Caruso was up and down throughout the series. McCain was up and down throughout the series. Like,
McCain was up and down throughout the game. Right? He was great in the first half. Wasn't really good in the second. But I think you just look at the small stuff, like you said, the not changing the starting lineup. By the way, if you change the starting lineup in Game 7, even that's too late, right? Because you already knew by Game 5. Hey, man, you probably need to start changing the lineup here. After you win Game 5, I get it. But, like, you make a change in Game 7, and it's just not even, like, the right one. Like, I'm kind of flabbergasted by it. It wasn't a great, I think.
And I agree that it wasn't a great series. I do think he had limited options by the end of it, though.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. He had at a certain point, you had to look at the end of the bench. But we also talk about, like, hey, you don't have any shooters. You have Isaiah Joe sitting there.
Yeah.
He can get irrationally hot. He can get going. Like, there's a level of, like, you need to throw somebody in at some point to get some shots up. And I think that's kind of the stuff where I felt like, yes, he had limited options. I still don't think he did a great job. I still think he's a great coach. I'm not trying to be like, like, I'm nitpicking. But I think when you look at it, this is the stuff you have to talk about. You lost a Game 7 on your home floor. You were up 3-2 in this series. You're up 2-1 in this series. You blew these games, and you blew a game at home is massive.
Yeah. I feel like last year he would cycle through options from a position of strength where he would be like, all right, I'm not afraid to throw, Kason Wallace was a smaller role player list, but I'm not afraid to throw Kason Wallace out there, Aaron Wiggins out there, Isaiah Joe out there, and see what they can give me on any given night. This year, it seemed like he had to be pushed into it out of desperation, and that was much different.
Yeah, and I think but I think part of that's on him with that.
No,
Like,
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. Like we know Isaiah Joe can play. Like he can come in and hit shots, right?
Aaron Wiggins can play.
Wiggins can play, but like we know, but these guys being buried on a night where we're saying like, oh, you guys needed more shooters. There was one on your bench. All I'm saying, like
probably the best one on your team.
So like kind of interesting to me that's somewhere where he didn't go. I want to go a flash forward to like just look at their offseason. Because listen, within seconds of this game ending, they should trade for Giannis.
Not within seconds of the game ending. During the game, everybody was talking about that.
I think first off, it doesn't seem like a Presti move.
No.
Two,
not at
I
all.
actually don't think Giannis fits well with SGA.
Neither do I.
So, like, I'm not like excited by that pair. Everybody's like, they have to go get somebody to stop Wemby. I'm not convinced somebody can stop Wemby yet.
Me neither.
Right. So, like, let's not like no team has the Wemby answer. And I think it's for me with them, don't panic. Like everybody's like, there is a new kid on the block. He's on your corner. But it doesn't mean you have to leave the corner if you're the Thunder, right? Like, this isn't like first off, I'm so excited for these two teams matching up next season for the first game. I'm going to have to ask for a lot of permissions from my wife to get the pass, but I might fly out to wherever that game is to just see that in person. Like, because I just want to see that.
I feel like no matter what happens in the finals, we're still going to get that game opening night.
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000%. Like
they might save it for Christmas, but it's either then or opening night.
Both. They won't they won't play again. It will be in San Antonio opening night, and it will be in OKC on Christmas. That's my prediction. I'm calling my shot now on May 31st. The thing though for me with them though is like, I don't necessarily feel like they have to make a panic move. You look at it with like, we had two out of our three top creators injured.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's a big, and that changes us also defensively because you can switch Jalen Williams sometimes onto Wemby on some possessions. Right. And he can have to body up with Wemby and handle him and stuff. May not be ideal, but you can do it for a few possessions. The run of like, I think they have to make some moves to maybe make the bench a little bit more fortified. Maybe they're going to go try to find another creator, another shooter. But I also think the moves they're going to be making is more going to be looking at like, how do we keep this core together and add to it and grow? I don't think they're going to make a move for Giannis. I don't think they're going to make a move for Mobley. I don't think he changes that much for them from Mobley to Chet. I don't think there's that much of a difference in that regard. Now, so like, I don't know. Presti's a genius. Like, they're going to put something together. I love what Shea said after the game. They asked him if he was going to have input, if he was going to have any input on the moves this offseason. And he's like, I will have zero input. I will trust the greatest GM of all time. And I'm like, yeah, like, you just don't say anything. You're fine. I don't know where, like, I guess I know where. It's because it's what we do best in terms of panicking and let's blow everything up and change everything. It's an immediate reaction. I just don't think they need to.
Neither do I. Like, I don't like the Giannis move for them. He is significantly older than the rest of their guys. It consolidates way too much of you got to give up way too much to get him. He's injured every year, especially now dealing with the calf injuries. I don't know how much you want to deal with that. I don't think he's the greatest fit in the world with Shea. They both like to isolate and attack in the mid-range and get downhill. Like, I don't know where you get your spacing from at that point. Like, unless he's playing center, which I don't think he is, I just don't love it for them at all. And I think it's a panic move. to do that. And I just don't think you need to panic. Like, is there a new kid on the block? Yes. They also took that new kid on the block to game 7 that was within 4 points in the final few minutes of the game, despite the fact that they didn't have their second best player and another one of their top 7 guys for basically the entire series.
This is King Kong versus Godzilla. Neither one are backing down. And there's going to be, I mean, this is, you go back, this is like Lakers Spurs years ago, Spurs Suns. Like, we're going to have this sort of go back and forth for a while.
Lakers Celtics in the 80s. Like,
Lakers Celtics.
Going to be like
this is going to be the challenge. And you're going to be paying attention to every move you make. And I think this, what moves did the Spurs make? What moves did the Thunder make? Like, how are we, how do we get better with that? Like, I just think it's the one thing I'll say that's great about it is after last year's championship and the start of this season, it did feel like everybody just pack it in, man. The Thunder are too damn good, right? Like, it is kind of fun that we're going to have this sort of run. And for the 8th season in a row, no repeat at all. And I don't know how many different, it's been 8 different finalists too, right? Like both sides, the Eastern and West.
I think there's been 11 finalists in the last 6 years. There's only been one team that went twice, was the Celtics.
So, I mean, you're kind of like, this is a league now, man. Like, this is going to be fun. This is going to be banging heads. Let's go to work. I'm interested to see what they do, how they handle things. Lou Dort, Hartenstein's team option. I think they pick him up and try to figure it out. But again,
I feel like
also,
they decline it and sign him to another deal.
Maybe that should be what I more just meant to say. Like, I think he's still coming back. Yeah. So they'll probably set him up on a deal. I think they're kind of set. It's pretty interesting there. It's
not original, but the move I want to see them make is Trey Murphy somehow.
Yeah, I think everybody's going to be trying to make the Trey Murphy trade. I think even the Spurs, whether they win or lose, are going to try to make the Trey Murphy move.
Yeah, but OKC can outbid everybody.
Yeah, they can. It's going to get interesting to see where he ends up, and that'd be a nice pickup for them. That's it.
They are going to. Are they over the second apron this next year? Because that would make it difficult. You can't aggregate salaries if you're over the second apron.
I mean, I would imagine they're going to be just with the extensions kicking in. They would have to
keep talking.
They might have to do that at the draft.
Yeah, so they are quite a bit over the second apron next year, assuming they bring back all their guys.
Right. And so those are the things, like, right? Like, and that's why maybe you do let Lou Dort walk. And on top of that, that allows you an opportunity to bring in Murphy. Like, you have to figure out some stuff. This is going to be interesting. They have 12 and 17. I think they're going to consolidate it because they simply just have too many guys at a certain point, and I think they need to make a consolidation just off the adding 2 more rookies just seems like too much. Not that I just feel like it's too hard to manage and make sure to develop those guys because minutes are needed for development. And the most important thing they need to do, work on Jalen Williams' hamstring all off season.
Yeah.
We've seen a hamstring problem linger in Denver with Aaron Gordon. And now it's kind of lingering here. Like, it's been a problem all year, really. Like, it was the wrist originally, right? But like,
right. And then it was both hamstrings at different points.
Yeah. So it's like, you're going to have to really kind of put that emphasis on it and see what happens, man. But this is going to be amazing. This is going to be fun, dude.
Yeah, it's absolutely going to be fun. And I can't wait to see what they come back looking like next year and what they are looking like as coming back with a vengeance in their mind rather than a repeat in their mind is just such a different feeling.
I want Chet to go to Rocky IV levels. I want him to be training in Siberia, chopping up logs. I want a picture of Wemby on his mirror that he just stares at every day for 20 minutes. I want him running up the mountain and just, yell Wemby.
I want that beard to be like 3 times longer when he comes back from the summer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I want him to get like figure out what he needs to do, whether it's, or go on a walkabout in Australia, like whatever he needs to do, run the Sahara Desert, whatever you need to do, man, you need to go find. Because I want this to be just King Kong Godzilla, just punch. Like I just want a whole, like I'm so excited for this. I just want this to continue. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And then we're going to just talk about some news real quickly because I know we went a bit long with these things, but we kind of had to with everything that went down. And we're going to talk about some coach hirings and lottery reform. And we are back, folks. Okay. We did have some news. Which one do you want to start with first, Jared?
Let's start with the Orlando Magic hiring a head coach. They get Sean Sweeney, who is the current assistant coach for the San Antonio Spurs, former assistant coach for the Dallas Mavericks and the Milwaukee Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets. And I can't remember where else he's been.
Lots of places. He's done
widely regarded as one of the better defensive minds in the league. And the guy who the last two times the Thunder have been knocked out of the postseason has been the architect of the defenses that stopped them.
Yeah, and he's gotten a lot of credit for the Spurs defense this year in the plan that he's put together. Well respected across the board from players. I saw something where Giannis was talking about him as not just a great coach, but a friend and all that fun stuff. I think there's a lot of this was a dude that was getting a head coaching job this year. Like I felt like in this cycle, if it wasn't Orlando, it was going to be Portland or Chicago or wherever else he was interviewing with that. And there are a couple openings still left, but he beat out some pretty big names too for this, right? Billy Donovan and Jeff Van Gundy, well established. And the story all along was Orlando wanted an established coach, but I think Sweeney was just too much, man. I think he was but you couldn't pass on that. I will be interested. He has a defensive background. This is a team that needs to figure out their offense.
That's exactly where I was going to go. I'm very interested in that because Mosley was a defensive coach coming in too from Dallas. And now it's Sweeney coming in from San Antonio via Dallas, via Milwaukee, via Brooklyn. So I'm very interested to see what they're going to do offensively because he is known primarily as a defensive guy.
Yeah. So, maybe and that might just be he was pigeonholed in that situation. Like fun story, like when I was my last year with the Spurs was Ty Lue's first year as an assistant under Doc. Not his first year as an assistant under Doc, but he was Doc's top assistant in Doc's first year. I should have phrased that differently. And he was a defensive guy, but he used to tell me all the time, he's like, I got so much offensive stuff in my bag. He was our defensive guy, but he had offense on his mind. So like that might be the case with Sweeney. We won't know, but I think this is a good hire regardless. Their defense did slip this year. I think he's going to come in with a lot more respect in that he's coming off of a finals, win or lose, right? There's a little bit more of like, all right, maybe we should listen to him. He's been to the mountaintop, multiple times. Like, I think it's time we pay attention to him. I think he'll be a good hire. I like it. It also always comes down to now I'll be curious to what the staff looks like. And I'm just curious how much. This is the thing. Alvin Gentry got the New Orleans job while in the finals with the Warriors. Right? I'm curious to see how much Sweetie's like 1 foot in here, 1 foot in Orlando. Like, I don't know how that works with all of that stuff. But the Magic flew out to San Antonio, from my understanding, to interview him in San Antonio and kind of sort this stuff out. Overall, I think it's a good hire.
I'm not worried about him for the finals personally. Like, it's easy to compartmentalize. Like, you still have a job to do and you have another job in 2 weeks' time. Like, you don't take off. Like, you don't, at least in this line of work, you don't like just start slacking off on your actual job because you're getting another one in a few weeks, especially with this on the line.
The wrinkle I would say though is like if there is a top assistant you want, right? Like if there is. By the way, I will say this too: there's gonna be guys in San Antonio that are kind of be like, "You gonna take me with you?" Like there is some of that too. with the way this sort of goes in that structure. And the Spurs are going to be also like, hey man, like you can't talk to these guys about going with you. Like there's a fun, weird dynamic when a guy leaves, and they're happy for him and all that. But there's also some of it where like, hey, we want to keep our guys with that. So it gets interesting in that regard. It does leave. So
I was going to say, go to yours first, and let's
no, because I'm taking us to a different spot. I'm taking us to a different spot. So go ahead.
Okay. You mentioned earlier how much Giannis loves him. Does this make Orlando a Giannis team now?
I thought about it too. Nothing's off the table. It seems like they're going to move Giannis before the trade deadline. Before draft day. But like nothing's off the table at this point with Giannis. It sounds like
Orlando doesn't have the picks. So like, what are you getting other than Paolo Banchero?
Well, I think no matter what happens, it's going to be a multiple team trade.
Yeah.
With Giannis, and I think they'll get picks from somewhere, not necessarily them, right? And like, maybe they don't get Paolo. Maybe Paolo goes somewhere else, and they get some picks somewhere. Who knows how that kind of works itself out with these things. I want to ask you, so right, that leaves us with Chicago and Portland as the only two jobs that are still open, right?
New Orleans got filled.
Orlando.
New Orleans got filled. Orlando got filled. I think it's just Chicago and Portland.
Portland might want to pick it up here a little bit, although I still think it should be Thiago Splitter. I know they're looking at guys. I haven't heard anything. I mean, I've heard some stuff with Chicago. Obviously, they just hired Graham to be the team president. He's doing the interviews. It'll be interesting to see who they go with, but kind of want to see that stuff get moved. But speaking of bad teams, we also have lottery reform. We've talked about this kind of stuff before. It's the 3-2-1 lottery system that they're going with. It is on a 3-year test plan.
Yeah.
Which I find odd. I don't think 3 years is enough.
Well, they're doing that because that's the timing of the opt-out for the CBA.
Okay. Thank you. That explains it to me. I didn't actually pick up on that. Thank you. That's why Jared's smarter than me, folks. I think the main notes, right? The bottom 3 teams end up the relegation zone end up getting 2 lottery balls instead of 3. 4 through 10 get 3. And then what is it again? Help me out here.
11 the next 4 teams, the last teams out of the play-in get 2 balls each, and then the losers of the 7-8 games get 1 each.
1 ball. Right. So like and then no team can pick in the top 5 3 years in a row.
And you can't get the number 1 pick in back-to-back years.
Right. That last provision completely screws the Memphis Grizzlies. They were the one team that voted against it. Totally understand why they voted against it. It's kind of a shitty provision.
Naked self-interest, but also you're supposed to vote in your self-interest.
Yeah, that's the point. So like I'm not mad at them with that. Just a tough spot to get put into. I think ultimately though, I give it a try. I'm curious to see how it plays out. I think this will have some unintended consequences. I think some teams. I think we're not going to see as many draft picks put in trades. I think it's going to get interesting to see.
There was a GM that told Jake Fisher that he's now not trading any draft picks beyond 2029.
Yeah, so it's like you can't. Well, you can't because you don't know if like your team's going to be even a play-in team. You might have a chance at the number 1 pick. Right? We're going to get a live lottery draft show, which I'm totally in on.
I will say it could be anticlimactic if they reveal it 1-16 rather than 16-1. I want to figure out how they're going to do it going backwards.
That gets hard, I imagine. Because you need to have it needs to go 1. It's a good point. That does get anticlimactic pretty quick. But it'll be fun for that 1 pick, though.
Right.
It'll get exciting for that 1 pick because everybody will have a chance. So,
I do like that they're going to have like the team logos on the balls instead of like number combinations. I think that's better.
Much better. Much better. Numbers are for nerds. I think which we both are. I think my favorite thing is the relegation.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all fine. Like, did they necessarily need to shake up the entire system for no reason? Not for no reason, but I don't know that they needed to make such dramatic changes necessarily. I think there was a perfect storm of a lot of stuff happening this year, but also I'm kind of agnostic on the changes themselves. Like, sure, let's see how it works. Like, I'm not hugely pro or hugely con any of this.
All I'm saying is, for me with the relegation stuff, the fight to get out of 3, being the third worst team, and a fight to stay out of to stay in at 4.
Only if you actually own your draft pick. Because
Right.
if you don't own your draft pick, then you want to be in the relegation zone.
Right, because you're going to drop back. But but there's so many wrinkles to it, but I think there's going to be fun basketball out of it. More importantly, we can't have what we had this past season.
Well, let me ask you this. Is Nets Kings going to be worth watching anyway?
I mean, the Kings are a whole different story, but like, yeah.
Right. Is Nets Jazz at the end of the season going to be worth watching? Like,
well, the Jazz are going to be, well, yeah, in the sense of this, we want games with stakes because they're at the end of the season, they're going to be playing their guys. If the Jazz are in a situation where, and I know that it gets complicated with the Jazz, right? Just using them as an example, though, and this was
would Nets Wizards have been worth watching toward the end of the season? Like, no.
But they wouldn't have tanked so blatantly from February. Like, we don't know what everything would have looked like. But the thing is, at the end of the day, these guys would have played games. They would have traded for Trae Young and played Trae Young. You would have traded for Anthony Davis and fucking played Anthony Davis. Like, with that stuff, if you're the Wizards, right? And you're going to try to get out of that 1, 2, 3 spot. Like, I think for me, it's like I'll tell you what, there's a better chance I'm going to watch those games with those teams playing their guys versus me turning on a Kings Nets game, which sometimes I have to because that's our job.
Yeah.
And then turning it on and going, who the fuck are these guys?
Right.
Right? Like, there's a better chance of me actually watching it. And then there's a better chance of fans actually watching it. Now, let's be honest. Ain't nobody watching the Sacramento Kings. Like, in general, like in that way. But like, at least when I turn it on, me who follows the NBA regularly, and I know who Max Areno is, but like, you turn it on and I go, I got to start looking at rosters in March going like, who's this guy? Because they just called him up from the G League because they're not playing their guys. Like, it makes a difference.
It does. It does.
So like, we're gonna now, like, how much it just makes the games more watchable, which ultimately at the end of the day, yeah, that's the hope. And that's what they're trying to do. And I commend them for saying, man, this was brutal. We know it was a perfect storm. But the thing is, there's always another storm coming. May not be next year's draft, may not be, whatever. But like,
I think they're going to, after next year's draft, between the relegation zone and the fact that people don't like next year's draft or the year after's, apparently they're going to declare victory on this very quickly because it's going to look so much different than it did for this year's draft, which again was like a perfect storm of like 7 different things.
Right. And you can't, and you're right. You can't declare. It's like when they declared victory with the Elam ending. And just so you know, I was right about that. Shout out to Seth and Dave on Nerder. They were wrong. I was right on Elam ending. And All-Star. But like,
the game's ending with the free throws.
No, it was just all of it. I went to go listen to old Nerder stuff. You'll hear me with crush Seth on that one too. I think ultimately at the end of the day, they had to do a change. And I think they had to be drastic. I didn't think around a small one tweak around the edges was going to work. Right. And here's the other thing. They're going to find a way to game the system. This is what teams are doing.
They are going to find a way to game the system. And I'm telling you now, if the 16th seed next year wins the lottery, they are going to go ape shit.
And you know what? I'm okay with that. You have to understand this is going to be the type of stuff that's going to happen from time to time.
I'm okay with it.
I know you are.
Teams are going to go ape shit.
Yeah, teams are going to go nuts. 29 of y'all voted for this. All right. So, like, that's just the way it goes, man. Like, at the end of the day, I'm fine with it. We got it official now. It's going to start next season. I do, and I get it too. Part of it is because the CBA, but I do kind of wish they sort of grandfathered some of these things in. Like, Memphis getting screwed does suck, you know, with that stuff. But somebody was always going to get screwed in this situation.
But I would say also, like, part of the reason they're doing this is because Memphis was one of the most egregious tankers in the league. So, like, you got screwed, but also you screwed yourself. Same with Washington. Like, Washington was either second or third most egregious. The Grizzlies were the most egregious with the way that they were using their 10 days and whatnot.
Yeah.
But Washington and Utah were probably next in terms of most egregious tankers. So, you know, you get quote unquote screwed, but it's your fault.
We're going to try to, even at the end of the season for some of these teams, make it matter that you win games. Not a problem for me. Jared, anything else before we go?
Nah, man. We'll do our finals preview later this week, and it's going to be really fun to watch the New York Knicks and the San Antonio Spurs in the NBA Finals. It's going to be awesome, man. I can't wait.
It's going to be fantastic. Thank you, folks, for listening to the Double Dribble Podcast.
See y'all.